One of the most common forms of dishonesty in the news media is passing off opinion as fact, and there have been few outlets that have been more notorious for this than Buzzfeed. Many have already noted some of the more ridiculous things to come out of their various YouTube outlets, but leave us not forget that Buzzfeed itself has a home website that purports to give news and opinion. I use the former term loosely, I might add. Just recently, the owner and founding editor, Craig Silverman, my personal opinion, a prime candidate for suicide on the grounds of doing the world a favor, decided to put out a little screed complaining about so-called viral fake election news, outperforming real news, and making an inference that this somehow swayed the election. No, my friends, it was not the terrible campaign run by Clinton and her underlings. It was not revulsion at the last 8 years of failed economic and internal policies and foreign policy by the current but soon-to-be-gone president. No, my friends, it was conspiracy theorists and other various fake news outlets. The problem with the argument that's being used here in this particular article, which I have linked below, is that the standard for what constitutes real news versus fake news is argumentative and not empirical. Case in point, the top 5 fake news stories include some sources that are naturally questionable, but others that are not. For instance, the Denver Guardian is not a suspect news outlet. It's a local news outlet, and it had a story that was particularly important, which is one of many people turning up dead in the aftermath of Hillary Clinton's presidential ambitions. This is not fake news. The story about Pope Francis endorsing Donald Trump, yes, that was incorrect. However, so was a lot of Brian Williams's personal biography, and yet we were treated to that on numerous occasions, and even after it was proven to be false, he is still regarded as a trustworthy source along with his network by Buzzfeed. What is considered real news? The answer is mainstream news. The Washington Post, the Huffington Post, the New York Post, CNN, the New York Times, aka news outlets with more money, but not necessarily more honesty. I have a couple of links in the description pointing out really massive errors made by all of these news outlets. So, what do we have here? We basically have sour grapes and bitching from an obviously biased news outlet about the outcome of an election. Do spare me the irony. With prudence to myself and benevolence to all of you, good evening.